But the minute you have the grand house, the minute you have the grand car, the minute you have that handbag on your arm, the minute you have those posh shoes and the clothing, all of a sudden in my life, because people knew I was successful, they weren't charging me. Oh, don't worry, Sarah, we'll pay for this. Oh, let me get your coffee. Oh, don't worry, I'll pay for dinner. Because it's crazy the mindsets that successful people with money or the world has. They probably had less than I did, and I had the ability to pay for. They know I had the ability to pay, but because they felt that she's successful, they wanted to show, oh, let me get this for you. Let me pay for this. Oh, don't worry about that. It's so crazy, the world, the way that it thinks. The amount of times I went into Costa for a coffee and the girls, they knew me, regular customer. They knew where my business was, and I power dressed. I did. Not ridiculously, because I'm not that crazy that I would pass my money over for something that wasn't a good investment. So I dressed well, but I wasn't silly with purchasing higher brand products that were just going to make me look good. You can carry yourself well without having those brands. You can behave, your manners, everything. All of that is a factor of how you represent yourself. So yeah, people would, oh, don't worry, it's okay. We're not charging you. And it's ridiculous, isn't it, when you think about it? When you had nothing, that's the time when human beings should be lifting you and carrying you and supporting you. So I learned all of these things whilst I was in the UK. And that's terrible, really, because they're not supporting the ones that are in need. And I think coming from Pakistani background, having travelled back to Pakistan, having seen poverty because of our faith and how we conduct ourselves with charity, you are givers to everyone, and it's not the Western way that is embedded in your mind, So I think that taught me a huge lesson in life about where I had positioned myself. My parents went to the UK. They gave us that opportunity, for which I'm exceptionally grateful. However, I'm glad that I still had the values that my mother instilled, because that dilutes over generations and people lose touch of those values. And that's one of the things I really want to share, especially with the next generation, is don't lose those values, to help people who need it, not for the people that don't need it. Yet you will value the person because you think they're successful, because you think they've got money. So that's what the UK gave me. It gave me success. It gave me money. It gave me opportunity. But there was still no satisfaction. There was still something missing. So I had my foster children, as I was saying earlier, and I learned from them. That aspect of life came in, that there is a bigger world out there and there is a lot more to see. And what we really, truly have as a purpose in life, we've lost, because our purpose seems to be to grow and develop ourselves financially and have all of these possessions, and we lose track of the fact of who we are. We don't even know our own true personalities, and you have to find yourself almost again. And I'd reached this point, and I'm analysing my life. I'm analysing where I am, knowing that you think life goes on forever, don't you? And that I've got all this life ahead of me, and what am I going to do? And there came these tests. So these real challenge, harsh tests that some people will only imagine will happen in their life. And I'm not going to go into detail on the test, but let's just say they were significant enough for me to reassess my entire life. So I did. And that involved me getting closer to spirituality, because the spirituality, Islam, was what we grew up with. I had in my life, but not to the strength or level that I've probably risen to now. But you look for somewhere, when you hit a difficulty, people pray, don't they? And it was an automatic thing to do, to ask, because you've got nowhere else to turn. Where am I going to turn now? Okay, I'm going to turn to prayer, and I'm going to ask Allah to guide me, to help me. And I'm very good at making decisions. I'm very good at implementing, problem solving. I'd say that was my greatest strength. But when I hit these tests, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was bouncing backwards and forwards, unable to make a decision. So I took to asking Allah, how am I going to deal with this? And actually, I got my answers literally through that connection. And what was happening was I was finding myself more, and I was finding my spiritual side. And actually, you're thinking, you're yourself. You're by yourself when you pray. You're by yourself when you ask. You talk to yourself, aren't you? You're talking to yourself. You're asking yourself those questions, but actually you're doing it through prayer, and you're asking Allah, I have this problem. How am I going to deal with this? Can you give me some guidance? And the best reference book that we have is the Quran. And I read wherever and whatever, and I got some answers. So that part of my life changed me as a human being. Why? Not because we have deen in our life. If you're a Muslim and you practice, you have it automatically. Maybe in certain countries, they take it for granted. They don't realize the value of it. The same way that I'm living in a land of opportunity and I am not realizing, like my children don't realize what they have and they don't value it. So in comes spirituality, in comes a connection to myself, and in comes self-analysis, perspective, and judgment of really what is going on here. What is going on in my life that I can say I am satisfied with? Possessions don't make you satisfied. Your inner peace makes you satisfied. Your health makes you satisfied. And actually, when one of the greatest lessons that you have is that you don't, well, from fostering is that you don't need anything. But the other greatest lesson that you have in life is that you're doing it alone. So when you're praying alone. When you pass on, you're going to pass on your own. When you are answerable for your actions, it's going to be you on your own. So actually, everything that was around me now lost its relevance. It lost its value. The businesses lost their relevance and value. The network had lost its relevance and value. Even relationships, the bloodline relationships, they lose their relevance and value. And you now want to release yourself from all of these roots that are holding you down as this tree and unpick each one individually to release yourself to find peace. Because in life, what you're doing is serving the family, serving the business, serving the community, serving everybody, but you don't know who you are. You don't know what your relationship is with yourself. So what happens is you now have to uproot everything that you were taught to stabilize. You undo it all, and you're going to change this because this spirituality came in. I'm living in a scene where there is a pressure and there is no peace because I'm not surrounded by those things that being in a country where, and I'll be straight with you because we are unfiltering here, I wanted to live in a Muslim country.